Hey, kicking off this UFC 261 pay-per-view card. This card is stacked, brother. We got Jimmy the Brute Crute taking on my dude, Anthony Lionheart Smith. Jimmy Crute gets an amazing opportunity against an always tough, always game Lionheart. Someone hardcore is an absolute badass in there, a true OG. I mean, the dude has 50 fights, 34 wins, been out there with, the best of the best, and he's got some sick wins over Alexander Gustafsson, Volkan Oezdemir, Eldirte Sanchez, Luke Haberman, and Devin the Brown Bear Clark most recently. Crute, meanwhile, will be the younger fighter, 12-1 record, and just has been seriously mauling dudes lately. I mean, that last win, KO victory over Modestas Bukauskas was simply brutal. And his only loss came against Misha Serkunov in a fight where Crute just made a critical error, found himself in a really bad position on the ground, and ultimately succumbed to a Peruvian necktie choke. And but it's not like the Brute, the Brute is a slouch on the ground himself. I mean, he's a serious black belt, has some solid UFC wins by submission himself. So I'm very interested to see if this fight does hit the mat, how it's going to go down, because we all know the BJJ skills that Lionheart possesses. I mean, 13 of his wins have come by submission himself. So do you see the ground game playing a major role in this scrap, or do you anticipate most of it being played out on the feet? And who are you going with in this Lionheart versus Brute matchup?
Yeah, no, this is such a fun fight. We had the young up and comer, 25, the Brute Crute, with that one loss, like you said, from Misha, which very surprising that he got submitted by Misha, but then he submits Paul Craig. Like that's crazy because Paul Craig, I mean, he subs everyone. I feel like for all of his wins. Um, I mean, he's got 12 submissions. It's just crazy that like you said, he kind of fell into the wrong position at the wrong time, but he should have had that dub. I'm gonna go with Jimmy Crute. I think he learned from his mistakes. If Anthony can keep it on the ground and implement his heavy wrestling, I think he does have a good chance to win this. I'm probably not gonna get near this fight, but I do like the Brute Crute, just because I like the younger. He's got a hot streak on that one loss, that little upset, but I think this is going to get him right back on track. And if it doesn't, it's going to show that Anthony, he's not here to go. He's here to freaking stay and get back towards that title contention. But I could also see Anthony, if he does lose this, Dana could be like, hey, man, you might need to go out the door. It all depends to see if Anthony's still in it or not. It's gonna be one crazy fight and one hell of a battle.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, if Anthony Lionheart does find a way to get this one done, I mean, he's, back sort of in the discussion of dudes that will be competitive towards fighting for that title again for sure. I think if he loses, I don't necessarily see his job being in jeopardy. I think he could, maybe to his chagrin, be a gatekeeper in the UFC, and a guy that you can throw in there against a Devin the Brown Bear Clark, just sort of like a levels test fight for a lot of these young up and comers. If you think about it, that's kind of what this fight might be. We're going to see how good Jimmy the Brute Crude is, because while you mentioned, that impressive submission victory over Paul Craig, who is just a submission wizard, his other wins, Sam Alvey, Michelle Oleg Jashuk, and Modestas Bukauskas, those are all solid fighters, but Anthony Lionheart Smith is a legit top five talent, a dude who's been in there fighting for a belt before. So it'll be interesting to see how he stacks up against a guy that is as tough as Lionheart. If we look over at Tapology, people are pretty bullish on Jimmy the Brute. 74% is going with Crute, 26% going with Lionheart Smith, and his 26% is pretty divvied up. It looks like most are going by decision, but there's some KO there, there's some submission there as well. I tend to think if Anthony Lionheart Smith does get this done, it'll be by decision. But if you look at the 74% for Crute, majority of it is Brown. Do you see Jimmy the Brute Crute putting out Lionheart by strikes in this one?
I was surprised seeing that myself. That's a big number of Brown. I mean, his name isn't Lionheart for no reason. I mean, I haven't seen anyone put him out. His lights totally out. I mean, in a while, he has been finished, but not in devastating fashion. I see this, both these parties are going to win by decision. But hey, maybe I'm wrong, and the community's seeing something more on the Crute man, and maybe he's got some meat bombs, and Lionheart isn't ready for him.
Yeah, I mean that Glover TKO loss was pretty brutal, but that was over a 5 round, just kind of drawn out affair. He was just eating shot after shot. That fight definitely went on longer than it needed to, but with just 3 rounds, I don't anticipate Crute being able to inflict as much serious damage as Glover was able to in that fight. I've been going back and forth with this one all week. I sat here ready to be convinced by you because I've been leaning Lionheart, and you just presented an extremely compelling case, but I got to go with my heart. Got to go with my Lionheart. I'm going with Lionheart in this one. I think he's going to find a way to get this one done. He's coming off a nice win over Devin the Brown Bear Clark in a fight where a lot of people thought that the Brown Bear might get that one done. So I do think that Jimmy the Brute Crute is a much more talented up and comer than the Brown Bear, who is kind of one dimensional. But I think Anthony has another little run in him. I see him getting this one done on the feet, ultimately grinding out a tough, probably split decision. So you said you're staying away from this one. I don't blame you on that one. The odds aren't that juicy. I mean, minus 200 to go in there and fight Lionheart doesn't scream value for me, but Lionheart at plus 160 might be sort of a juicy meat value stake if you're trying to sprinkle your sauce. So I'm going with Lionheart. He's going with Jimmy the Brute Crute. Check out the other vids, Meat Boys, because we got plenty of breakdowns coming.
Yep.